Okay, good morning, Chavra, and Happy New Year. Today is the 12th day of Teves, and we're learning the second half of chapter 10 in the Holy Tanya. Okay, in today's lesson, yesterday we talked about the difference between a tzaddik v'toivlei and a tzaddik v'ralei. The tzaddik who has completely vanquished and conquered and hates his Yetzer Hara and his any evil inclination is completely wiped out, and he loves Hashem with all his heart, with all his passion. And tzaddik who maybe just there's a tiny vestige left of hatred that he doesn't. Whoops, about that. That he doesn't abhor the evil. Now we continue on page 85. Okay, you ready, Chaim? A description of the rear level achieved by tzaddikim called Bnei Aliyah. Those who achieve the highest. Aliyah is an ascent. Like, you go Aliyah, Eretz Yisrael, you're going up to the land. We say when a person passes away, we say the neshama should have an Aliyah, should go higher. So this ascension refers to one, the totally transformative elevation of their negative forces to godliness. As we just mentioned, a tzaddik v'tovlei completely transforms any evil to good and any negative to positive, which is godliness. Hashem is good. And number two, that their sole interest and work is for Hashem, with no personal agenda. It's all for the Eibishter. V'hinei madregas du miskalekes l'dirivos madrega v'nibchines miut hara anisha me'achas me'arba yisaydei saroib. Remember, we're in the middle of talking about the incomplete tzaddik. What does it mean incomplete? There's a tiny, tiny little layer, and even within that, there are many different levels. As we'll see throughout the Tanya, that every time the Alter Rebbe describes a certain situation, you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Wait a second. Every situation has numerous nuances, and the way the Alter Rebbe describes them, well, Tanya says that there's myriads and myriads of levels within each level. That corresponds to a person when it comes to a tzaddik, Racha, Beinani, and also to the different worlds and the different levels of spirituality. Okay. So he says, now this level of the incomplete tzaddik who knows evil is subdivided to many, many, many different levels, consisting of varying degrees in the quality of the minute remaining evil, deriving from any of the one of the four evil elements of which the animal soul is composed. So remember we talked about the Eish Mayim Ruach Afar. Fire is anger, boastfulness, ego. Water is lustfulness and desire. Ruach is a spirit, could be, I guess, self-aggrandizement. Is that the right word, Zalman?
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. And then there's Afar, which is like misery, not lowliness, laziness, lack of drive. So with the tzaddik also, the remaining evil may consist of the element of water, in another may consist of the spark of the element of fire, and so on and so forth. In the Alter Rebbe's words, the subdivision also takes into account the degree to which the remaining evil is nullified in the good because of its minuteness. Whether in 60 times as much good, for example, or maybe it's in 1,000 or 10,000 or so on and so forth. Sometimes it's just nullified in, it depends. How do you quantify how much evil is left? So every person's brain and heart and soul and approach is different. These various sub-levels in the ranks of the incomplete tzaddik are the levels of numerous tzaddikim found in all generations, all of whom belong to the category of the incomplete tzaddik. It is v'gemara to samneisar alfei tzaddikei kamei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does the Gemara say? Let me see which Gemara it is. Gemara Sukkah, page 45b, and Sanhedrin 97b. Amud Beis says 18,000 tzaddikim stand before Hashem. That's a lot. Thus, though many attain the level of a tzaddik, they're in fact incomplete tzaddikim. So every time you hear somebody say, "Oh, you're such a tzaddik," probably means he's an incomplete tzaddik. By the way, this was going on, Salman, amongst like friends of ours. Like yesterday, we were reaching out to each other because we're all learning the same page, right? We're all learning the same Tanya. Someone's like, "Oh, I love you so much. You're such a tzaddik." Tzaddik v'ralei. We're like throwing in these words. Okay. So now, what about a complete tzaddik? Shamar Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, about a tzaddik Gomor, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, Risi b'nei aliyah, the hein mu'atim. So these are superior men of very high levels, and there are very, very few in each generation. Shalakain Ikroim b'nei aliyah, that's why they're called the people of ascent, the men of ascent. Shemahapchim hara umaylim oisoy l'kedusha. They completely convert. It's not that they just push aside, cast aside, hold back from the evil. It's that they actually transform the evil. That is the highest level. How could you make an enemy into a friend? That's very difficult. It's written in the introduction to the Zayar that when Chia wished to ascend to the Heichal, to the heavenly shrine up in heaven, of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he heard a voice come out and say, "Man, mincha indi chashecha ma'apchon l'nahoyra v'tamon meniru miska ad la yeson hacha v'chulu." Whichever of you, before coming here, have converted the darkness of the world to light, which is the evil, to holiness, and transformed the bitter taste of their animal soul, and Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, to sweetness, only those may enter. You know how we always talk about it, sounds almost cliche, especially when it comes to Hanukkah, or when it comes to anti-Semitism, we say, "Oh, we're going to change the darkness into light." This was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, this was a heavenly voice declaring, if you want to be on a high level, if you want to really transform yourself, you got to turn the evil into good. You got to turn the darkness into light. Not easy. And by the way, we're running the campaign. So for some people, it's a very simple thing as giving money or saying a blessing, benching. To wash is one thing, but benching is mamish min atayra, and it's you're rushing. Things are busy. You stop for a moment. You wash negavasa. You wash for bread. You say the brachas. You concentrate during davening. You can have tzaddik-like moments throughout the day, especially if it's overcoming the Yetzer Hara, which gives you personal satisfaction. It's one thing if it's just time, right? If it's just a matter of timing, you're like, it's just annoying. But when something gives you pleasure and you push it aside and say, no, that's not appropriate, that's not okay, and I'm going to transform my energies instead to holiness and kedusha. There's another reason why they're called Bnei Aliyah. Even their divine service, everything they're doing in the area of doing good, in their fulfillment, everything they do to Hashem is directed towards the highest levels. Their divine service is not intended merely to attach themselves to Hashem by serving Him through Torah mitzvahs, to quench their thirst of the soul which thirsts for Hashem. That would be self-serving. If you would say, everything I'm doing for Hashem because I feel that's my goal in life and that's what I want to do. That's self-serving. I feel good about that. Tzaddikim of lower levels might cleave to Hashem by fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. As it is written, exclaims the prophet, all, if he was more like modern day Ashkenaz, he would have said ho, but we say hoy. Above you. All who are thirsty, I don't know, why don't they put a Y after it says H-O in the English translation? It should be H-O-Y, right? Hoi. In the Hebrew, it's Hoi. Hey, Vav, Yud. Okay, anyway. Hoi exclaims the prophet, all who are thirsty for Hashem should go to the waters of the Torah and let them engage in Torah, which is likened to water. What is thirsty ones? Thirsting for water. So the men of ascent, whom we've been discussing, are beyond this level of divine service. They're not looking just to quench their thirst. They are rather Ella, as we're going to soon see. They are chariots to Hashem. Whatever Hashem wants, I'll do. It's not about what I want. It's what Hashem wants me to do. I don't find any pleasure in it. This, again, Chevra, is a very, very high level. Okay? I'm sorry, B'tikunim, Ezeu Chasid, Chasid, Im Koinoi, Im Kandile. The service of the ultimate, the high tzaddik, B'nai Aliyah, as the Tikkun Zohar states, is he who is a Bais Chassid, he who is benevolent, is Chassid towards Hashem, Koinoi, his creator. The Zohar comments that Koinoi usually translates here as creator, but it could also be interpreted as his nest, derived from the root ken, like shiluach haken, right? Chase away the bird from the nest, and thus the chassid is he who is benevolent with his nest, meaning his source. This benevolence towards Hashem consists of the yachta, kucha b'richu, u'shchinte b'tachtoinim, uniting Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, with His Shechina, so that the light of His union reach and is felt even in the lowest worlds. When Shekos v'Rayvahemna Parshas Tetzei, Ivra d'ishtada basar avoy ve'emei d'rochim loin yatir megarmei v'nafshei v'ruchei v'nishmasei. Kulu. The Rayvahemna, the Kabbalah on Parshas Tetzei says, and in the manner of a son who exerts himself for his father and mother, whom he loves even more than himself, more than his own nefesh, shok and neshama. When my kids are engaged, my daughter, my future son-in-law, like sometimes I tell couples, we don't know exactly how to describe love. It's a feeling, but you'll soon see that your wife cares about you more than you care about yourself, and the husband cares more about the wife more than he cares about himself. That's what we're trying to reach with this relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Umasar garmei lemesa alehu lemifrak loin chulu k'meshes bar makemacher. The person sacrifices himself for the sake to redeem them. We're talking about his parents. He loves them more than his own body, and he'll put himself in harm's way. Such is the divine service of men of ascent. They'll do whatever it takes for Hashem. It's not about how they feel whatsoever. It's not about feeling good about learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. I don't know that we're striving to reach this level at this point. Yes, wonderful. If anyone here can comment and can do it, great. I respect that. But for us, we're just learning about what a tzaddik, v'toivloi, b'nei aliyah, this highest level of a tzaddik is. Okay? And the Alter goes on to explain on page 88. Shnei mo'elim mekana echad ki ayidei habirurim shemevarim menoiga ma'elim mayim nukfin. Both interpretations are complementary, for by refining the good found in Klippa, when we transform the Klippa as the men of ascent, as the Bnei Aliyah do, by converting the animal soul, which is derived from Klippas Nega, to good. One elevates the Mayim Nukvin, the feminine waters. Man, Mayim Nukvin, taking the first two letters, we usually call it Man. It affects unions in the higher realms so as to cause Mad, masculine waters, to descend to this world. Sheheim mimei hachasadim b'chol mitzvah, u'mitzvah meramach mitzvasei shekulan heim b'chinas chasadim u'mayim dechurin. These masculine waters are the waters of kindness that flow into and are contained in each of the 248 positive mitzvahs, which are all in the nature of kindness or benevolence and masculine waters. The Hainu, Amshakas, Kedushas, Elikusi, Yisparech, Mimai Lamata, This term, masculine waters. Again, this is a very Kabbalistic approach here. Masculine waters, as applied to mitzvahs, means that the mitzvah draws godliness from above, meaning from the higher realms downward, so that God's holiness be clothed in and revealed within the lowest realms, meaning our physical world, as will be and is explained elsewhere. Excuse me. The takeaway for today, Chavra, is that there are tzaddikim, there are righteous, who act in every instance according with the Torah just because that's the will of Hashem. Not because they feel good about it. That's the lower level. But because of their spiritual, because they connect to Hashem, that is the only reason. By the way, as I mentioned before, I don't know that we're striving to reach this level. We can certainly enjoy doing a mitzvah because Hashem says that we have to serve Him with joy. We say that every single day. So when we do a mitzvah, when we learn Torah, we should serve Hashem with joy, but not because it brings us personal satisfaction, but because if we just think about it for a moment, it's because Hashem wants us to serve Him with joy. So we could reach that level as long as we understand our approach when we feel the joy, that it's not our personal joy, it's joy because Hashem wants us to feel joy in the mitzvah and in the learning and in the davening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Have a good day. Enjoy. Enjoy.